Steven Melanson again, and I'm with Nick Salchow. Nick the Tooth. That's what we call him in the gym. You can't guess why. Anyhow, we're gonna go over something basic called a hammerlock. Okay, it's about as old gets, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a little move to keep it a little more in control. Even though it's very common in wrestling, and it's actually called a potentially dangerous hold, and it's going to be done a little different when we do it more in a MMA grappling situation. Okay, so first thing is Nick the Tooth is going to be, he's going to be here in Ontario, the referee's face, just right face the camera. Okay, now what we're going to do is I need to show you guys how to work a wrist ride properly. Working a wrist ride is not necessarily grabbing the wrist and collapsing it, okay? You actually have to do it a certain way that brings the elbow out. So we want the hand to come through. And that's done with my grip and my elbow. I was fortunate that the late Jared Platt, who's just passed away, he was very good at this, and he taught me very well on it, okay? So my hand will come here, and underneath it's gonna be like in a spiral situation. And I'm going to be here. Now normally my legs, I'll be here or on a side ride, but I like to use my feet. I'm not a big fan of being on my knees, but I'm a little injured right now, so for the sake of the demonstration, I'll be on my knees, okay? So from here, I'm going to lock. Now, if I can grab the fingers, I'll take the fingers. If I can grab the wrist, I'll take the wrist. But I don't want to get here on the forearm too much. He's going to be too strong, okay? So I'm going to grab, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'll have my spiral here. We'll go into that later. And you know, naturally Nick's going to be a little strong with his elbows. He doesn't want to be turned over. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab his wrist and I'm going to start driving, almost like you would do a wizard on the spiral ride, the thigh ride. And then I'm going to start pushing his wrist towards the mat and extending my elbow outwards. And as he drops down, the hand will crown out. Okay, see how it crowns out? Now, the trick with this is Nick's first reaction don't want to roll, so we have to have body position on. Okay, he doesn't want his shoulder broken, so he's going to go with the crank. So my body weight is imperative. If I'm up here doing this, you're going to watch him grab me roll. So I got to keep some weight on me here. Now, when I'm keeping my weight, I grab, I hit my spiral, I jam the wrist in the mat. Drive the elbow out, drop into a low shoulder, the hand will peek out, okay? It peeks out. Notice I have a real grip on it. I don't have a monkey grip. I got a real grip here. Now, I'm gonna keep body position and pressure on Nick. And I'm gonna slide up to an underhook. Now from here, I gotta keep pressure with my chest. I actually wanna drive him this way a little bit, just to kind of flatten him out a little bit. I'm not going to get him fully flat, but I'm going to get a ton of pressure on him. If I hang back on the mat, that will get him to roll. I don't want him to roll. So I have his wrist. Now, from here, I'm going to do something very simple. I'm going to catch his shoulder with my legs, like this. And then I'm going to crank. So I'm going to keep the wrist, keep it, pinch, and now he's got it. Okay? So it's almost like you're underneath, you're capturing, and you're squeezing. But the wrist control is what you need to keep with it. Okay? So, show you that part one more time. I'm here in a ride. Reach in for the wrist. As I spiral, pin the wrist down, run the elbow, he drops down to a low shoulder. I keep my weight on him. I slide up from my underhook, use the legs, and transfer weight to his body. Okay, you okay? Yeah. From here, my knee comes over and over. And now I pull. That pressure, using your feet, not being on your knees, will get you a hell of a finish. Okay. So let's look at the spiral now. Now, a lot of guys just kind of do a tight waist and you pull down. And that's not wrong. That's definitely not wrong. Me personally, I like to get some good pressure, and instead of just pulling off to the side, I like to stretch out. And the reason for this is because if I create a lot of space here, it's easy for me to throw a leg hook in as well. So I can set up taking his back. I just pull him to the side and his elbows and knee is tight, and now I'm not gonna be able to get that option, okay? So watch this hand during the setup, get the wrist, I drive, he goes down, catch, and finish, okay? Now, if you're telling me, hey coach, I'm having a tough time getting that wrist right, you've got him control of his wrist, my answer is yeah, he doesn't want you to grab his wrist, okay? So we have to get focused now, backtrack, and focus a little more on the spiral itself, okay? Here's the counter. Now, a lot of times, when the good guys are here, they're gonna keep their hand out, okay? So, you're not gonna be able to grab, okay? So, you can use a claw, or you can use a near side underhook. For sake of argument, let's just use a near side underhook. Okay, so when I'm here, I'm going to go to my spiral and I'm going to go to my underhook. Real life, I'll be off my knees and I'll be running it. Okay, for the sake of demonstration, okay, I'm going to stay on my knees and I'm going to pull them out. There's my wrist, goes behind, and there's my finish. Especially if he's strong, the leg pressure is actually going to be pretty intense. So if I'm in this position, I go under, I grab, and lock. And that's it. Regardless, anywhere in the position of the game, once you have a wrist ride, even if you can't get it out for the hammerlock, if he just hugs my arm, I got an arm tied. To me, this is one of the best grips you're going to find in grappling. I would take this grip over so many other grips and positions because I can change so many moves. It allows me to have a lot of control of his movement. It's like I handcuffed him to himself. And I know that I may be able to take his back, look for triangles, look for arm triangles, just move everywhere on the body. And as soon as he starts to get a little froggy and tries to flip his arm out, I get it out. And then I use it against him. That's why these things are kind of neat. Okay? So, when you're here, you pull, catch, grab, drag open, behind the back, and finish. One more time. Here, I'll be riding good pressure, my underhook and drive. There's my wrist. Now, go up high, pull out the wrist, and catch. And that's a version of how I like to do a hammerlock from the referees or turtle position. So when next time you're at the gym, instead of jumping hooks on the back in this position, when you start going with better guys and they're really good at swimming you off, you might regret doing that. It's definitely worth it to break them down to a low shoulder, get a wrist ride, try to get control, try to go for the hammerlock, and if he starts escaping, you always have the rear naked choke, you always have the back position. So sometimes it's not worth jumping and taking a risk. Most great grappling coaches, jiu-jitsu guys I meet, they always say, I won't jump on the back there, I'll try to stretch him out. So it doesn't matter if you're a catch guy or a jiu-jitsu guy, it's always better to take someone's back and go for those positions when they're stretched out, not when they're balled and tight. Okay? So give it a try and have some fun. Thanks, Nick.